Zuckerberg told the world, the adults failed us. And we demand a change.
Yes.
And so I will never get in the way of a Greta. We don't know who's going to rise up to be a king. Who are we to tell someone what they're called to do? What we need to do is tell leadership that we are right for not accepting police brutality. What we need to continue to do to let leadership know that we are right to stand united against institutional racism. We will not be moved. As Reverend Barber of the Poor People's Campaign always say, not one step back. We're moving forward, united, because we will win. People ask me all the time, how do you know that, BJ? I'll tell you how I know. Because love wins every time.
Yes.
Love wins every time. So I am glad that we continue to stand united because we understand the truth and the devastation that wreaks havoc. Some trauma never unhealed. I spoke with Keontae's mother, and before I would lift his name up on Saturday, I needed to get permission from his family that this was even a wound of trauma that they wanted to read about in the media. Why? Because I learned to love people as myself. He's not my son, but he is my son. Because she's my sister, and that makes him my son. So I called Miss Antonia, and I said, first question, is it okay? Because I've been requested to lift Keontae's name up on Saturday. She said to me, I trust you and your husband to lift his name up because you all have loved me and you speak truth. She said, but what I want you to tell the people for me is that I still want justice. It's been 4 years and I haven't even received an apology from the person who shot my son. She said it's been 4 years and I've never received even a phone call from the people who took the life of an unarmed young man walking the streets with these headphones on and what we look like today with masks. He uses handkerchief around his neck. She said, tell the people, I want justice. I want justice for my son. I stand today to tell you that we lift him up because George Floyd's death thousands of miles away, a lot of people obviously didn't know. Right on these streets, not a few miles away, later 18-year-old walking. Now I think this story was special to me because I have a son that's hearing impaired. My son was walking just like Keontae and did not know the officers behind him was telling him to stop. By the time I jumped in the car and raced to the scene, their weapons were drawn already. So in that vivid moment, I'm screaming out, I wrote you all a letter telling you that he has a hearing problem and he usually walks around with music in his ears. He just can't hear you. He's not being violent. He just can't obey your instructions because he cannot hear you. And had they pulled the trigger for whatever reason, dead because I couldn't hear instructions. That is not justice. And it is not ever going to be the way that you bring someone to justice. I consider police officers the gatekeepers of justice. That means there's a law in place that says you have a right to a trial. But serving the death sentence on the street is a policy that should be banned for all who are supposed to be the gatekeepers of justice. And the thing about it is, when people call and say, the rioters, they, the protesters, they, it's amazing how we can be a they, but you in the same breath say not all cops are bad. So they're not a they, it's just we are a they. I'm not saying about good or bad, because that's a subjective matter. But I will say any cop who stands behind a right to bring justice in the street and leave a body dead, you are bad. I stand behind my comment that any law enforcement officer that sees brown people as deadly, you are bad. I stand behind my statement that says anyone that holds up an institution that targets, and I was actually told by someone who left the field that in training, you know what they call the pop-outs? Most of those pop-outs that they shoot at are brown like me.